It's my pleasure to introduce it's my pleasure to introduce today's speaker, John Tong, Customer Service Partner at Coupa. John has over 25 years of experience as a procurement and supply chain professional, shaping and implementing strategies that deliver strong business outcomes. He has held a variety of executive roles leading teams across category strategy and management, transformation, digitalization, strategic sourcing, and operations. He's also passionate about teaching, and sharing his knowledge to help procurement organizations become more strategic. In addition, John serves as an adjunct professor at the University of Missouri, Kansas City, where he teaches strategic sourcing and supplier relationship management. John, we're excited to have you today. I'll go ahead and turn it over to you.
Well, thank you, Renee, and I am so excited to be in front of you. I have a fond connection with ISM, but especially the Houston chapter, because I think just a few months ago with Tom Salter from Coupa here, we hosted one on-site event. So really love the partnership and really love how you're continually networking and helping our profession advance. And so I want to thank everybody for joining time mainly for most of you, it's going to be over your lunch. So I'm hoping that over the next hour, we're going to provide you food to feed your mind, right? And then later on, you can get food to feed your own physical body. But really, the topic that I really want to focus on and really am passionate about is what I call category management and supplier management. This is a concept that I think has been around within our procurement profession for many years, but only with technology and AI are we starting to see how we can really realize the full power of that. So what you see is the title that I really want to talk about is really the future of procurement, but most importantly, the digital future of procurement. And I want us also to start to think about, are you currently doing category management, supplier management, and how what are some things that you're concerned about in trying to realize that? So with that, Renee did a great job of just introducing me. Thank you so much, Renee. Um, I've got 25 plus years in procurement. It's been my only profession outside of the Army, and I love this profession. And so done various roles, and really at the end of the day, too, what we're going to show you is how Coupa is thinking about it from a digital perspective. And Coupa bought category management. What you're going to see from a company called Certu, and that's where I joined, and that's why I am here in front of you. But I actually also implemented this when I was at T-Mobile as a practitioner. So I can speak it from various perspectives, but at the end of the day, too, my passion is to continue to help procurement organizations talk about this. So what I want you to start to think, so we're only going to have a few slides to really set the context of this. And I'd love to spend at least 30 minutes in taking those concepts and making it live for you in what we'll call the digital ecosystem that we're going to share, that Coupa has put together here. But the first thing, do you believe, or are you doing this, that category and supplier management will become the dominant value streams for delivering procurement's value? We're starting to see that there are many other levers, many ways to look at this just beyond cost. And this is really a quote from Gardner after they surveyed a lot of CPOs. So think about that, because what I love to do is go into a quick interactive poll about this topic and how important is it for you. Now, before we do, there's one thing that I do want to stress. What we're going to talk a lot around is around category and supplier strategy. And most of us are very familiar with sourcing strategy. It's different. There are some connections, but what we're going to talk about is category strategy, which is broader. And coming out of that strategy is
Okay.
almost like you're
So
managing a line of
probably wouldn't even
business.
have it on right now. She's okay.
I think we just heard some noise, if you could just mute, that would be great. But category strategy is broader. You're managing a line of business. Some of that strategy can lead to a sourcing event, where then it can inform you on how to develop a sourcing strategy. So that's the concept I also want to make sure that we understand and that we're not mixing the two for today. So here's our first poll question. We're going to see how technology works, and hopefully it works fine. Is we're going to post a poll, and we're going to take it to the next step. Is if you really are trying to do category supplier management, what is really keeping you from realizing the value? There's a lot of promise with it, but we're also seeing it's very difficult to do. So here are the options. So if you guys can start to select, one is you really think it's just overhyped. You really don't have an intent or feel that category supplier management is as valuable as what we're saying. Or B, my team is not experienced, mature enough to develop category supplier strategies. And choice C, it's difficult to build the right framework. How do I get the team thinking about how to build a good category strategy? D, it's just too much time and work, or you have another reason. So if we can, everybody just quickly click on one of these as it's related to your current situation. And I'll give it a few more seconds. And Renee, feel free that if you think that you've got a good quorum or majority, can we start to see the results? And I'm going to put Rita on the spot here. What do you think will be the most highlighted answer here, Rita? Our future president.
I would say C. It
It's
is
too
challenging
difficult.
to build the right framework.
Yeah, especially if you're using in PowerPoint or Excel. That's awesome. Renee, how are we looking? Oh, he took it off. Oh, here we go. So look at that. Renee, you're not too far off. It is really B and C. Team's not experienced, mature enough. And of course, if you're not mature enough and you don't have the right framework, you're not going to get anything done. Now, what's positive for me when I see this? First off, nobody chose A. So if you did, you may not even think this is valuable time here. But the fact that you're attending, I think you realize the importance of it. So I'm glad to see that nobody selected A. D, it's also positive for me too, is there is always going to be work to develop strategies, but at the end of the day, we realize it's valuable time spent because at the end of the day, strategy is proactive. It's going to try to get us out of the reactive mode. But so B and C, and this is where I've also seen most of the responses. I've had a chance to talk to many procurement organizations is how are you doing it? And what most of them are doing it is that it's hard to build. They're doing it in PowerPoint, Excel. And then if you're doing that, it's hard to train people on a blank sheet of paper. So thank you. I'm going to close this out. We're going to have another poll later on. Thank you, Renee, for that. But keep that in mind. Those are the two key things here. What I want to now go to is just a few more slides, and then we're going to talk about these challenges and how we're changing it from our point of view from Coupa. So one common theme I want you to think through is this connected theme of what we call, are we able to analyze our current situation in a category? It's almost like I call, can we see all the dots, all the key data, as well as the key qualitative data that we sense? And from all of that, are we able to connect and develop a strategy where we focus on the most impactful things? Now, once you have that strategy, the next piece is we don't want to stop there because a strategy, many of you guys have probably experienced it. You put it on PowerPoint and it just goes into a digital shelf. You don't do anything about it. We want to take it to the next step is can we develop a plan to execute it? And then even when we execute, we can't stop there. We've got to be able to report the outcome or realize the value that we said in a strategy. Can we then tie it to that we execute and we secured, if it's cost savings, cost avoidance, or whatever, can we report back? And so that's what I want us also to think about when we think about category management. It's all these connective themes together. Now, let's talk about why it's so challenging to connect all of that. It's because most of us, and I'm going to call it this, we are in the manual analog world of PowerPoint, Excel, different systems, spend analytics. And then how does it get into a category strategy framework? And it's a hodgepodge of things. And hopefully you will probably resonate with that because that's one of the things coming out of the poll. So what you see here is what I call usually a framework of the big major areas to manage a category and develop a category strategy. But what I really want to start to show is some of the key pain points. So off in this quadrant here is one thing that we need to feed our category strategy and how we think about it is how are we working with the business units, our stakeholders? How are we collaborating? And it's very hard when you just have PowerPoint. How are you connecting people? How can they see it? And the next piece was out of the poll was the framework. I developed category strategies. I had consultants come in and develop a PowerPoint deck, 30 slides. And each of these are analysis that how do I train somebody to do it when it's just a blank sheet of paper? And so that also poses a challenge. What we can say is most of us can agree, even you can Google, and I teach this, that the standard category strategy has standard analytical frameworks that everybody uses, but how can you train somebody to do it continuously? And then we talked about this execution. If you can have the greatest strategy on PowerPoint, but how do you write the plan? And then how do you track all of that? And sometimes then if you don't have the right tools and so forth, it's just a bunch of spreadsheets trying to figure out, did we get what we wanted out of the category strategy? So I want you to think through some of these pain points because what I want to now go to eventually is this digital world and how we can solve for it. The final piece that we should be thinking about when we're thinking of category management is we got all those pain points, but we want a framework that can handle any category and complexity. And what I mean by that is you want a framework that some of you may only be indirect, or some of you may be indirect, but if you're the CPO, you want an organization that we can develop a robust framework that can handle any category at any complexity. And what I mean by complexity, sometimes you may want to develop a global strategy and then feed that down to a regional strategy or vice versa. So do you have a framework that makes that easy? All right. So now that we've set the context, we're going to shift gears and I really want to spend the next 30 minutes or so talking about how can we solve for this? How can we relieve those poll questions to say, well, I don't have a mature team, John. How do I do this? And I guarantee you, I've worked with teams that are highly mature and teams that are not mature, and we got them up to maturity in a digital world. So even if you think you're very mature right now, ask yourself, are you mature in a manual analog world? Because I think there are limits to that. So with that, I'm going to switch over to what we call our Coupa category management ecosystem. So hopefully everybody can see it. If somebody cannot see it, please put it in the chat. But what you see.
Now, let's see.
Okay. Hopefully I didn't hear anything so far. So what you see here is now what I call this category management ecosystem. And when we talk ecosystem, we talk about various things here. Is the people that live in this ecosystem, all the strategies, everything, can it be self-contained in one area? And can you enable collaboration with the people in here? So 3 things that sometimes you'll hear me talk through are 3 personas, 3 types of people that will live in this category management ecosystem. First and foremost are most of you or your teams, your category managers, or if you call them sourcing managers, the ones that are responsible for developing and thinking about strategy for their category. The second persona could be the procurement center of excellence team or transformation team. They're here to run the program, to be able to report out to the CPO the status of how we're doing it, to start to realize that value. and make sure that everybody is doing the strategies at the time that they've been determined. And then finally, you have leadership that can come in here. If you're a director and you're managing multiple category strategies, you can start to see how your team's doing, as well as even the CPO and leadership, some key insights. Because once you can digitize information, you can now cross analyze all the strategies easily and see and glean some key insights coming out of it. So 3 types of personas within procurement. And then the fourth one, which is just as important, is the ability to have your stakeholders, business stakeholders, look and review your strategy in real time so that way you can bring them along the journey. So now that I've established sort of like the players, the people that can live in this, I want to now talk a little bit about what does it look like when you digitize versus if you got a bunch of PowerPoint. First and foremost, you can now see all your active category strategies within your organization. And you can quickly go into any one of them as well as see their, their status. Where are they in the process from start to finish? The second thing too is this isn't just about category strategies. You can quickly flip over and see supplier strategies. So this now is one contained ecosystem to develop category strategies as well as supplier strategies. We're going to focus our time mainly on category strategies because once you get a good sense of the framework, supplier strategy is very similar, but geared towards a single supplier. One other thing, so I'm going to pretend that I'm a category manager coming in here. I can quickly click on my strategies tab, and what you're going to see is the power of collaboration. I can now see every strategy or category that I have or I am currently involved in, either as the lead, that's why you see my name, I am responsible for this category, or if you see others as the lead, the reason why it pops up into my strategy tab is they've asked me to provide input. So now we've enabled easier team collaboration real time. And as a user, I can start to see which ones I need to support or lead. The next thing is I'm going to click on, and for our example, we're going to use professional services. But what you'll find out in this ecosystem, you can select any category, whether it's product-based, service-based, and the AI will know enough to ask the right questions based off of that. So we're just going to do professional services. I click on it. I am now in the home page of professional services, my specific category. So remember how I can add and collaborate quickly? If I click on this, I can add members. I can give them only view, or I can give them full edit rights so they can go in there and work with me and edit and change a strategy in real time. What we're going to do is we're going to go immediately into the framework. What you'll see here, I'm going to come back towards the end, is what I call a lot of governance, the ability to do stage gate reviews. Before you move on, the organization can say, hey, validate this and get sign off from a stakeholder. So we can track all of that as well. But let's really talk about one of the biggest issues from the poll was the framework. And if we don't have a good framework, then how do we train people that may have different experiences? So I'm going to click on what this blue button called the guided strategy creation. That's the core of the ecosystem. And what you see in front of you looks like a bunch of cool looking boxes. I want to welcome you to what we call the strategic highway. And we call it that way is this is our best in class framework. And we've arranged it to make it easier for a category manager to go step by step in building a category strategy. And it's so valuable, especially if nobody's ever done it before. When we deploy, we train them on the concept and we help them fill it out. And you'll see, and that's why you'll often hear me say AI guided. The AI is going to guide a category manager step by step in completing it. And then the value of the AI is as you go through and complete, the AI is getting all of that data and is able then to make a recommendation on where it thinks the greatest impact you can deliver in that strategy. in that category. That's the power that you can't get in a PowerPoint. You can almost say each one of these analyses is a PowerPoint slide, but definitely if your team hasn't done it before, how can they connect the dots and say, because of what spend analysis is telling me and what I do for, and we'll mention CrowdJick Matrix, and I do market analysis, what should my strategy be? Let the AI help you in that, and we're going to show you how it's going to do it. So what I'm going to do at high level is talk through the various sections of our framework, and then we're going to dive into a few as time permits. We just won't have enough, but enough to tease you, to let you know that there is a better solution than just PowerPoint and Excel. So the first three modules, and you'll see it here, it's called business requirements. We do believe that any strategy needs to start with understanding the business that you're supporting, who they are, who are the most important ones, what is important to them. And then from there, we'll move into what we call a series of internal and external analysis. And really, it's meant to understand, how do we operate? How do we view this category? How do we manage it? As well as we need to understand the external environment. Is this heavy with a lot of suppliers or not heavy with suppliers? Is it ever evolving? Technology categories are constantly changing. How static is it? How dynamic is it? At the end of the day, what the AI is trying to do as you go through, like looking at your spend, identifying risk, looking at the external forces, even looking specifically at the characteristics and how you relate with other groups inside the company, is trying to uncover challenges and opportunities through all of these. And then from there, it will make a recommendation, and it has a framework that we'll show you shortly how it's going to assess, provide the category manager an idea of where maybe they can move their strategy, and then the AI will help you write your objectives and then help you write an implementation plan. So if we think about those four themes that we talked about, starting from stakeholder mapping, and it winds its way through to SWOT analysis, that's analysis. Then we move into strategy, strategize. Based off of all of this, the AI is going to help you come up with a recommended strategy. You're going to write objectives, and then you're going to move into execution, because you're going to provide an implementation plan and how you're going to realize and achieve that objective. And then even in here, once you're able to execute on it as a workflow, you can also document the realization. Did you get what you committed to from your strategy? That's that theme connected through what you see in front of you. The second thing I want to show you too is we have two tracks. This is what we call best in class. It's probably going to cover a good 90% of your categories. You want that in-depth, robust analysis. However, we also realize there are some categories that don't need that in-depth analysis. We have what we call the sprint version. And it looks exactly like the full track, but we've cut out certain modules as well. So there are some categories that you may realize, well, we don't need as much time. It's static, like office supplies. Maybe we just need to do a few things and then really just set the objectives and how we manage that. You can do a sprint version, and you can see how quickly you can move from sprint to full. And if you started off in sprint, these have this blue ribbon. If I go to full track, they're the same here. They get populated. So it doesn't matter where you start, both talk to one another. The other value is if you make a change here, it will filter throughout with the AI. So you don't have to worry, like in PowerPoint, when I did it, if I made a change in slide 2, I had to think about how does that impact slide 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and do I need to change anything? This is dynamic. Any changes hits everything, and the AI is always reading up to date, and its recommendation then may change as a result. So that's the other thing that I think you want to make sure that you have is the ability to help category managers not worry so much about, oh, if something changes in risk, what does that mean to my strategy? Have them identify changes, but then have the AI help them see the ramifications. So now let's go through a few and see how this works. And then you're going to start to realize how, even without a lot of experience, a category manager can develop a category strategy. One of the best case that I've ever had was I was training a team, and this person was on day 2 with a company, never had done strategy, but knew a lot about the category from a prior experience. So when we walked them through here, that person had to understand, well, you know what, this helps me guide in how I need to interact to get more internal perspective. Even though I got 10 plus years in the category, I needed combined, and this helped that person quickly get up to speed to identify stakeholders, talk to them, align on some of this input as well, and then develop the strategy. And I've had others that have never done a strategy, brand new, and been given a brand new category. This will help them because the AI is almost like a consultant guiding them. So let's just click on a few to show you how user-friendly it is, but it's also a what I call a knowledge capability tool. This isn't just about check the box and fill it out. They will learn best-in-class category strategy. We did not make up any of these analysis. You can Google it. I even teach this, and I teach this kind of framework. The framework is very common. It's just how do we make it more effective for a category manager? So we start off with stakeholder mapping. I click on this. What we ask them to do, and now I'm not going to be able to go deep into how we map things and all of that, but really what we start to ask the category managers is, who are your key stakeholders? And let's map to understand how should you interact with them. Manage closely because you're spending their money, so it's going to impact them. And one thing that I love about this is we help identify the stakeholders. We also help them identify the strength of the relationship. Is it strong? Is it weak? Because it's important that we align and we tell leaders that, hey, we're having difficulty. Because I don't know about you, but one of the core things about having that strategy go from execution to implementation to realization is you've got to get the rest of the team on board. And if you can't get them on board and you can have the greatest strategy, you'll never be able to execute in a timely manner. It's just a lot of challenges. So we also help think through strong relationship or challenging relationship. And as a result, we also have them identify issues as well as write a communication plan. So right now is one consolidated ecosystem where we're really assessing how can we partner better with the business unit stakeholders. Next, I don't know if you've ever heard of GRACSeed. You can actually Google GRACSeed. It's not racy. It's not about responsibility, accountability. This is a proven framework to help your team talk to your category managers and stakeholders on what is most important to the business at the highest level. So what this framework does is it's just grouping major business requirements. Like in this category of professional services, my stakeholders have told me, John, is not about cost. So oftentimes you'll be surprised, or maybe not, that most of your stakeholders don't care as much about cost as we do. They care things about, I want to make sure whoever you bring in as suppliers, consultants, they provide great service. And the reason why, too, that we want external services to come in, they've got to be innovative. We want great ideas. So what we're doing is listening to your stakeholders and helping capture. And it's as simple as there's a library and you click what is important or not. Maybe sustainability is not one of the most important things in a category. I can click that, hit confirm, and move it. So we make it very easy, but here's the what I call a secret sauce. Every change you make in here, you're giving the AI more knowledge. and the AI is changing its algorithm in terms of, okay, sustainability is not as important. Now let's think through stuff. So now I don't have to worry that if I already had a version and I remove sustainability, now I got to go through every single slide to make changes. The AI is doing that for you. A few other things that I want to show you is, we get captured these requirements. We're not going to go into the deep dive, but there are questions the AI will ask from the business unit stakeholders. Is it something important? Do we need it? Is it a must-have? And those kind of things the AI is also addressing, because any must-have, the AI is going to try to say, hey, then we need to do something in our objective. Spend analysis. We're all procurement. We need to understand spend. The great thing is the AI does it all for you, all the analysis. So no more of everybody doing their own spreadsheets, thinking about it, doing different formats that then it always presented in different things. We have a best-in-class strategic spend analysis that the AI starts to go through. And one of the key things I want to show you is what we call ABC analysis. So the AI is going to do this analysis where it's going to identify your top suppliers. We term them A if they represent cumulatively 70% of the spend. And we're all familiar with the tail spend. But what value this brings is the concentration of your supplier portfolio. Is it too concentrated? Or is it too fragmented, too big in the tail spend, or only one in the A? Visually, the AI is showing you there could be opportunity to tweak it, to optimize it. So all of this is now the AI doing it. We relieve the category manager from having to do the work, but it's more about thinking about it together with the AI. Then I'm going to just do one more analysis, then we're going to get into the recommendation. I don't know if everybody's familiar with what we call Kraujic matrix. Kraujic is actually named after a person who I know is still alive, Peter Kraujic. I think he's in his 80s. He is one of the foremost thinkers around strategy for procurement. And he basically said not all categories are created equal. There are some categories that we should treat as a strategic category. They're so impactful to our business. Then there's a lot of other categories that maybe are not as strategic. And so when you map this, the value of it is the AI now knows that depending on where you are, it has a set of options. If it's a strategic category, you will manage that very differently than if it's not as critical. And so that's what the AI is understanding, is how important is this? Now, the challenge is when we did it on PowerPoint is a 4-quadrant, everybody just would plop it on strategic. Everybody wants to say their category strategic. And there's no framework to say, well, how did you come about that? And did we agree? And so one value that we're training category managers, they may not have the experience to just plot it. They just have to answer the questions. And as they answer the questions and change it, you can click on set position and then let the AI, with its algorithm and its ability to look at multiple variables, determine that. And then we go from there. And so what we relieve too is biasness. And we help people that may not be able to think about 25 things in what Peter would say is you got to consider all this to develop a good Kraujic matrix. So one other thing to help with the pain points that you see outside of PowerPoint is now you see a structured framework. But that's not the value. The value is now we're going to help a category manager, whether they've done it many years or have not. We just take them and guide them, and we just say, answer the question. And if you don't know the answer, talk to somebody and find the answer, and then let the AI do the rest of it. So what does the AI do the rest of it? So I won't have time, but if you're interested, we can definitely talk about it later, is to go through each of these analyses and talk about it. What I want to do is, if you completed all of it, now let's say the secret sauce is how does the AI help us? I'm going to click on the strategy recommendation tab. What you see here is what we would call the strategic footprint. And the great thing when it's digital, you can hover over anything and we give guidance and definitions to it. is we would say that there are 8 major levers within any category that if you pull it, you can add value to that category beyond just cost. There's a lot. I always say this, treat it like you're managing a business and you want to see everything. Now, what will be different in each category strategy is what the AI would recommend and color code. So everybody will start to assess, do we have the opportunity to leverage competition? Or do we need to look at our demand management, how we control spend, our governance around it? Do we need to do better relationship because we only have 2 suppliers, right? Or requirements. And what you see here is everybody is going to look at the same levers, but the details is what will be different because of how you answered it, how you view that category. So you can see here that AI is basically telling me, hey, John, in this category, we really need to look at and how we control spend in professional services. Right now, everybody just decides when they want a consultant to come in. There's no rhyme or reason or governance to it. The next thing is oftentimes when we do it, our requirements are not clear, right? How do we know that consultants delivered what we wanted them to? And some of it we've got to start to develop relationships because they span every single part of the business, and it's hard to control that relationship. So that's what the AI is telling me. But how do I know all that detail? It's below. So for each of these strategic levers, we have the value levers. There's actually 77 value levers that the AI is looking at and scoring against to give you this picture. And I'm just going to scroll quickly, but once again, this is also education. Most category managers, we only have 3 things in our toolbox we always go to. Maybe our answer is sourcing, and then we stop, and then we say everything's all sourcing. But I want to encourage you, not everything is sourcing. There's 77 things you can do. But what the AI is going to help you do is score it and give you an idea of what levers you may pull. So this is now what I call human plus AI together will get you a better outcome of your strategy. But let's just say right now the AI scores all 77 and I can score, go down and you can see everything from what the AI highly recommends to what it recommends at 0, right? We have the option now to down select, and with the help of the AI, I won't go through the next series of analysis, we land on how do we write our objectives. So I'm going to go here, and I'm going to go like we did more analysis, and we down selected those 77 levers to our top 12. And from that top 12, the AI can help us write objectives. And here I'm going to just show it to you real quick is I can combine certain levers. And in this case, I'm going to look at spend by reducing the number of suppliers. And by doing that, I can redistribute. And then I'm going to do it by performing a competitive bid. If I click on Navi as our consultant, AI, I can have Navi help me write my objectives. And then you can always, as a category manager, go in and tweak it. But what we're trying to do with AI is to help you jumpstart. So there is nothing in here that's a blank sheet of paper. The AI is either involved in helping you write something or at least guiding you to get to the right answer. And once we have all of these objectives written, and we can add KPIs, we can also add the time frame. I'm just going to cancel out. Now I start to know which objectives are short term when I think I can achieve it. The cool thing too is I can show my footprint, and let me reduce this here, is I can also show my thinking of this is what the AI initially recommended, and this is where I ended up. I added a few more that I needed to source for a various reason. So you can see the before and after, and it gives you a lot of comfort that you can justify your strategy even further. And then finally, we help you write that implementation plan. So if this was your objective, you can click on and quickly write your steps and your time frame to build a Gantt chart. And you can add the value. For example, maybe this is my last one, award and contract. I can add the value that I hope to secure from doing that. And it's also a workflow that you can move it from start to finish, and you can also bring in finance to validate your final results. And the other thing that you'll start to see is we are connecting anything that's sourcing. You're able now to connect that and drop that into a sourcing event that then is driven by strategy. And a lot of the things that you put in there also informs your sourcing strategy. So we're always trying to do this connective theme so that way we just don't stop. We got to take it all the way to the end. So now I've built my objectives, my implementation plan. I've even outlined the timing as well as the value that I can secure. And finally, and I'm checking on time, we're not doing too bad here. We also help you present. So one thing that you often find is everybody spends a lot of time on putting PowerPoint together. Our AI, and I didn't show it here real quick, let me refresh. Wherever there's a lot of text, our Gen AI helps you write your story. So it will do, here, let me get to the presentation view, is the ability to write the scope, the executive overview. The AI writes it, but you also have the ability to override it. And it starts to visualize all of that content that we walk through, right? Gives it even a power balance. It's able to look at that input and say, who has the power in the relationship? We're procurement. So we always have to think about our leverage. So it's able to visualize everything on your behalf and you're ready to go and present. Don't have to spend hours on tweaking PowerPoint, and it's consistent now to leadership. Everything's always consistently the same in terms of brief cost drivers, our total TCO, the CrowdJick, 5 forces, and then these things are not familiar terms. Let's definitely talk through all of that. Our risk map. And then of course, here's our objectives and here's our initiatives. So what we've now walked through very briefly is a proven framework. Regardless if a manager has a lot of experience or not, we're able to walk them through and fill it out. And I've got lots of use cases where we've taken the most experienced too, because then they learn and expanded their toolbox, as well as the most inexperienced, because now they've been guided through, help them write objectives, help them write an implementation plan, and help them present. And then finally, the last is all those initiatives that I've agreed to in my strategy. You can track all of this and it will also, the system will also help you say, hey, are you behind? You committed to finishing this in Q2, but you didn't mark it complete. We're behind, as well as I'm also able to see the value that I will deliver if I can execute all of that. So all this is telling me right now is I got 17 initiatives with value in it. And for cost reduction, I've planned 25 million to try to hopefully deliver, and I've already realized 9 million. So there's a workflow in capturing the value, the realized part. And with all of that, you got the power to do analytics on that. You can quickly see how much spend is under a strategy. You can deep dive in your spend, which categories are delivering strategy. ABC analysis. You can start to see at a highest level all of your suppliers and how distributed they are. So everything that we do in an individual category, you're able to do now at a higher and roll it up from small teams to the entire procurement organization. That's powerful. We won't have time to glean some of these insights, but a lot of category managers see all of that. So with that, I want to now switch back to slides, because what I wanted to show first is the challenges we're facing. If we believe category management, supplier management can deliver value, what's keeping us from doing it? And I would say our point of view is it's because it's manual. Now I want to show you the future procurement, that this is not talk, it's here and now, that this is happening. And now let's go back to a few slides to close up and then open it up to questions here. is want to do another quick poll. And this is talking bigger now. Think about everything that you just saw. And here's the question. How digital or automated do you think your organization is when it comes to looking at category management? So one is we're just all manual. We're coping just via PowerPoint spreadsheets. Or we're semi-digital. We've got some maybe an analytics tool, but then we've got to extract that information and put it on PowerPoint. Finally, we're digital. We've got everything there. But then I go where I've seen a lot of the leading companies go to the most is they're using AI. And so what you see in our ecosystem is the AI is that final entity that lives in there, but it comes out of the box. It's native to the ecosystem. You're not training another AI as a result. So if you guys can quickly answer, and I'm going to put Renee on the spot, is where do you think most of the of your members are sitting at when it comes to category management?
I'm going to say B, semi-digital.
Okay, semi-digital. All right, let's give it a few more seconds. And then Renee, why don't you post the answer once you have a good sense of the final response here. So we'll wait.
Absolutely. Give it a few more seconds.
I'm going to say yes. From what I've seen, it's going to be A and B.
We got about 60% of participants so far. I'll give it about maybe 10 more seconds for folks to answer. All right.
Wow. Hey, Renee, you look at you. You got it right. B, semi-digital. And I think that's the thing that we're starting to see throughout is everybody is in a different level of their digitization. But we also realize that everybody needs to start that journey. And the key, though, is can a hodgepodge of things still work? Our and everybody that we've talked with in our white papers, our research, talking even with Gartner and stuff, we can get to AI digital quickly now because of the technology. So it's almost like you don't need to start with PowerPoint, is just jump into the AI digital world. And if you think you're very mature in PowerPoint, and you can be, you got to think, are you limiting yourself? Is there value to move to the digital world too? So what we would say is you want maturity in the AI digital. And it's great though that everybody's moving there. The question is, can you move quickly enough and try to develop strategy and get to execution as quickly as possible? So given that, I had another slide, but I don't, our time, I do want to be able to answer some questions if we have it. And so what I'll turn it over to, I think, is we have Tom from Coupa, who's been looking at the questions and helping answer, and we've got also Rita looking at it. Wanted to turn it over to both of you. Is there any common theme or a question that you think you want to try to stump me?
Well, right now it looks like we only have one question in the chat, and it has to do with the import of data from other tools, including Power BI, Procurement IQ, and et cetera.
Yes. So that's valuable. It's important. We didn't touch as much about it, but the system, our ecosystem, is not a closed ecosystem. It's got to be able to receive information. So we definitely can connect, and we've done it to different spend analytics. Then we also have the ability to connect market intelligence. I didn't get a chance to show it to you. For example, in my demo would have been Bureau, is Bureau technology-wise has a conduit to send all of its market intelligence at the right analysis. So we also enable third-party market intelligence to come into this ecosystem. And then the other key too is we let it go out. Now, in a safe confine. And what I mean by that is sometimes I showed all those initiatives. Maybe you already have another tracker that you don't want to use multiple trackers. You can extract information and initiatives to another system, as well as you can export all this kind of data into Power BI too. So with all that said, the key message coming out of it is not a closed ecosystem. There's things that can come in or go out, but it's at your control. Any other questions?
Well, that answered mine. Thank you.
All right. Then if there
Uh,
aren't, oh, go ahead.
John, we do have a couple more. One
Yeah.
of them is spend under control. Can the ecosystem flow through a company's finance to find new opportunities?
So my understanding, and Tom, you may need to help me from the bigger agentic AI that Coupa is installing, is you're saying, can we have something almost like troll other platforms and then bring it back in and say these are potential opportunities that we need to put into the strategy? Is that, I just want to make sure, Tom, or whoever wrote that question, was that the intent?
Daniel, that was yours. Do you have any clear? Yeah, that's what he said.
Okay. Not at and Tom, I think the technology will be, but not there yet in terms of being able to just go into every system, as you can imagine how difficult that could be, and extract information. We have to have a little rigor and framework. Spend needs to come in a certain format so the AI can put it in the right analysis. So that's the other thing too, is that unstructured things. But one thing we have and we will be overlaying is agentic AI. And you guys might have heard that term. That's an AI that will be more proactive, and you can almost send it out and it can bring things in. Like it could go into your emails, like Copilot does it. And it can start to say, hey, there's a lot of emails around this category, and these are the key stakeholders. It would recommend that these are your stakeholders in the stakeholder mapping. Those are the kind of things that I think, to Daniel, you're speaking to that can happen. However, it's also a matter of security. How
Yeah.
much information do you want to give this AI access to bring back it into the category strategy? I
Yeah,
will
and
say
Daniel,
this, the technology is there.
yeah, and I'll add also, Daniel, that Coupa has tools like this, but most of our the other companies in the industry and some companies that do it are looking at spend analysis and classification through AI to be able to generate where the opportunities exist. Once you find those opportunities, that's where you really will create a category management strategy around it. There's a question about how does your category management module connect with Coupa sourcing and contract management.
Okay. Go ahead, Tom, if you want to mention it.
Yeah, so the acquisition of this product happened almost a year ago. It was May of last year that we announced the acquisition. And since then, we have integrated this application to sourcing and to the contract management modules through Coupa.
Yes, and so there will be, or there is, we just released this connection. It's pretty fast. Is let's say one of those initiatives that you saw was about rationalizing through a sourcing event my A suppliers and B suppliers. Is you're able then to say this is a sourcing event that if you clicked on it, it will take the data around that category and drop it into, we have a module called sourcing optimization, a sourcing tool. Now you've linked strategy to sourcing, and then they can go back and also once you realize the value out of that sourcing event, it will feed that value back into the initiative and the strategy. So now you can close the loop that if I committed 6 million in savings, did I deliver 6 million, or maybe I delivered 5.5 million? So one thing that we're trying to do is this connective theme is that if you're going to source, let's really think about why you're sourcing. And some, as you build your sourcing strategy, you can go back and reference and leverage a lot of the information from the category strategy. So yes, it's not connected yet to CLM, but there are other integration points with the rest of the Coupa ecosystem. We can share more, but that's what I'm excited about. Is strategy is now going to sit as the brain for how you manage your that specific category. So let me end with this. 4 themes, takeaways what you just saw. 2 of it is around how we can build the organizational capability. And the other 2 is really what I love is how do you build the individual capability. So think about how you're doing it now. More than happy to discuss. I do believe that we are now moving into the human plus AI workforce. AI can really help us drive strategy because it's dynamic. It can process a lot of information. Next one, because of that, PowerPoint is static. Do you have the ability that when things change, you throw it into your template Will it spit out any changes or say it doesn't have a material effect? And then the most important thing is, as we go through, we train your category managers to be even more strategic, how to talk about things through all of this. And it's all this is captured in one system, tribal knowledge. If somebody leaves, the next person can quickly see what's happened, and it's always a living, breathing ecosystem. And so with that, I put Tom as the contact. If this is something that is interesting, and even thought leadership and talking about how we really make it happen, or even a deeper dive in everything on what you saw in this ecosystem, please contact Tom. Tom and I are close, so I will then go and support whatever you guys have here, as well as one of these days, I'd love to come back on site in Houston to meet the rest of you. So thank you for this opportunity, Renee and Rita.
John, thank you for sharing your time and expertise and perspective with us today. We truly appreciate you being with us and delivering such a great session. As we wrap up today's session, I just want to thank every one of you for taking time to join us. We hope you found the discussion valuable and insightful. Again, a special thank you to Coupa for sponsoring today's virtual session. Coupa, we truly appreciate your continued partnership and support of ISM Houston. Just one more reminder, following the session, we will be sending out the presentation slides that John demoed, so please keep an eye on that. And again, I want to thank everyone for being here today. We appreciate your attendance, engagement, and look forward to connecting with you at a future ISM Houston event. Have a great and safe rest of your day.
All right. Take care, everybody.
Bye now.
Good job.